anyway, so antibodies, antivirals. We think we can also have, very early in an epidemic, a thing you can inhale that will mean that you can't be infected, a blocker, an inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the three problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection. And they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And every one of those things is fixable. In fact, doing that work is going to help vaccinology very, very broadly.
That was Microsoft billionaire and philanthropist Bill Gates speaking on the coronavirus mRNA vaccines at a Lowry Institute event in Australia. Robby, what do you make of that? First off, this weird kind of glass onion-esque allusion to an inhaler that will block COVID transmission seems to be in the works.
They do have that in Glass Onion, yeah. And they're making fun of the idea, I think.
Yeah, a little plot device.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if such a thing is possible, bring it on. I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about that being in the final stages of development, but
of course, the main story here is that people are talking about as Bill Gates kind of being open about the lower efficacy of the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, he really nails it on the issues that we're having with them, which is the short duration of protection, not a significant discernible impact on transmission of cases, and et cetera. Not a massive benefit for a lot of otherwise healthy and younger people. Bill Gates was a major, I think it's fair to say, major proponent of mRNA vaccine technology. He was an investor in BioNTech, which developed the mRNA vaccine for Pfizer. We were just doing some digging, and we see that he actually sold a lot of those shares at how much profit was that?
10x. So he invested $55 million in BioNTech back in 2019, and it's now worth north of $550 million. He sold some stock. What was it at the end of last year, I believe it was, with the share price over $300 a share, which represented a huge gain for him over when he invested. So yeah, he certainly has profited a great deal.
So let's follow that trajectory. Invests heavily in BioNTech. mRNA vaccines, great. This is the future. This is, he talked about the vaccine timeline and how, we could develop it faster. We might have to cut some corners on safety, but it could be developed faster. All in, sells it. Makes a huge amount of money. Now it's like, yeah, it's okay. It could be better. But what we really need is this breath spray.
Yeah, when you put it like that, Robby, it doesn't.
I don't mean to sound unreasonable, but
yeah.
that is the steps that was taken.
That's what happened. A 2019 investment pre-IPO, a 2021 sell at $300 plus a share. And what some people have identified as a change in tone about the vaccine and its efficacy. Stronger on it when he was more invested in it, weaker on it now, although still encouraging further investments in technology as he continues to be invested in BioNTech as a company to come out with other COVID interventions going forward. I mean, the idea of people, we talked about this in another segment today about Nancy Pelosi's stock investments. I mean, people who have any kind of policy role, official or unofficial, the way that Bill Gates has. I mean, Bill Gates' sheer wealth puts him in a position to be influential in a policy realm. Wrongly, I would argue, but that is the way the world is operating. And for there not to be more interrogation of his conflict of interests here by the mainstream is deeply disturbing. And for people who have been skeptical of this aspect of Pfizer and the drug development around COVID, and who have been shot down by the mainstream media as kooks, anti-vaxxers and the like, when I frankly think that this issue of pharmaceutical corruption and people pushing various interventions, having an investment in profit, should have been an issue that the left was leading on. Because it's a constructive area of interrogation.
Especially when it comes to policy. We have to be more transparent about the fact that people who are having input in what the government policy is going to be, what's going to be required of people. The Biden administration tried to require people to get this. Doesn't it, shouldn't it be known at least when there are hundreds of millions of dollars of financial interest at stake for the people advising these decisions?
Yes. I mean, we talked
and their tune changes, it follows the money.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, we talked about that story where the new booster, this isn't an argument against boosters, but it's an argument against this new booster that was supposed to offer more protection against the current variant, in fact, offered less protection. And then you dig a little deeper, and it's the government has paid, like, what was it, $5 billion for this new booster that wasn't actually more effective than the booster that it already paid for.
And the CDC's not happy about that. It's not just all the conspiracy theory kooks out there. The CDC itself is like, wait a minute, you didn't tell us about that.
This is a grift. These companies are extracting money, taxpayer money, as it were, to pay for medical treatments that are not indicated by medical professions and, in fact, are yet less useful than what we already have. At the same time, and I talked about this in my radar, the Biden administration is opening its doors, its revolving doors, to people from these various industries, like Jeff Zients, who is the new chief of staff for Joe Biden as Ron Klain exits, who has spent his entire career profiting at the kinds of companies, investing in these kinds of companies that have been overbilling the government, overcharging the government for Medicare and Medicaid payments, and extracting these exact kind of overpayments. It is an enormous grift, and a grift that is incredibly common. Pharmaceutical companies have been trying to trick doctors and extract overpayments since time immemorial. Occasionally they get these taps on the wrist where they have to pay these settlements, but on the whole, they get away with it. And the idea that the Biden administration is now saying, we want one of those guys to be in a senior leadership position here at the White House, it's deeply disturbing.
Yeah, it is deeply disturbing. You got to follow the money a little bit. Like, I'm not demonizing people making money or people investing or any of that, but we need to know about it when it intersects with public policy, with important pushes and with what you're describing. People connected to the healthcare industry who made millions of dollars now running the White House, now advising the president, a president who seems like he's someone who can be advised. Do you know what I mean? Who takes advice, who's at a stage of his life where he can listen to the people around him.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that Zients, of course, used to be at Facebook, and that he was the COVID czar. I mean, it's like if you connect all the dots to all the positions he's been in, it's going to start to form a pentagram. It's so pernicious. All of the different pots that he's been in are frankly just not pots, not industries, not sectors that have been, shall we say, in line with the interests of the American people.
We're going to have a little seance to get rid of this bad stuff. Burn some sage. Is that what the witches and or kids are doing these days?
I had a good friend in the Bernie headquarters that got in trouble for trying to cleanse the air for burning some sage in the office.
You heard it here first. That checks out. More Rising right after this.